Thank you for gathering tonight for our first Truth and Reconciliation public hearing. This is Vanderbilt Divinity School, for those of you who are on the campus for the first time. Welcome to this space, and we are pleased to be partners and co-host for these hearings with Gideon's Army, sponsors of the Driving While Black report. The Divinity School core planning team is comprised of several individuals: Emily Towns, Dean, and the E. Rhodes and Leanna B. Carpenter Professor of Womanist Ethics and Society, C. Melissa Snar, Associate Dean for Academic Affairs and Social Professor of Ethics and Society, Amy Steele, Assistant Dean for Student Life, Andrew Krinks, a PhD candidate in Theological Studies, Rashida Fatuga, Gideon's Army, and yours truly, Forrest Harris, Associate Professor of the Practice of Ministry and Director of the Keller Mills Smith Institute on African American Church. Seated at these tables, we have representatives from the school, the core team, Gideon's Army, and community friends. So we are glad to have all of you here. On occasion, we may have representatives from the Metro Nashville Police Department seated here as well. These folks are reminders that there is a growing coalition of people who care about the problems of policing. These folks that I just mentioned to you are reminders that there is a growing coalition of people who care about the problems of policing and the effects of disproportionate bias and discriminatory impact in black and brown communities. And you are also reminders of the strength of the community when it rallies for change against injustice. Our goal is simple. We want to restore dignity, humanity, and neighborhood equity in our communities' interactions with police. We want to challenge the MNPD to cease the traumatization and victimization of black and brown people during traffic stops and unnecessary searches. And we want to hold the department accountable for its policies and procedures and the harm that those practices have brought to Nashvillians. Statistics are often cited by the department that African American communities are disproportionately victimized by shootings, homicide, aggravated assault, and carjackings. The department cites these as real disparities. Since it addresses concerns for African American victimization, we hope that it will be sensitive to the victimization it causes through traffic stops. By MNPD's own admission, 80% of the time these stops result in only a warning, and nearly 90% of all consent searches yield no incriminating evidence. Addressing the singular problem of the traffic stop could save the city money in the deployment of services, rebuild community trust, and address the harm caused by the unnecessary and frequent stops of black and brown drivers. MNPD has defended itself since the release of the report in various forms, in an open letter to the citizens of Nashville regarding MNPD's activities dated January 9, 2017, in a meeting at the Public Safety Committee of Metro Council, dated January 9, 2017, and in a letter to Metro Council slamming the Driving While Black report as morally disingenuous, March 7, 2017, and in a media release dated 3/8/17 entitled MNPD's Response to Gideon's Army's Report, and on a 92Q Sunday afternoon radio show, Let's Talk with Ernie Allen. These attempts at defending itself and denying the legitimacy of the Driving While Black report and the science of its data collections is undermining the department's professionalism. These public hearings are driven by real people's experience of MNPD, oftentimes first through the traffic stop. We hope that by listening to these stories, we can gain a stronger sense of how drivers are treated, what contributes to their victimization, and how we can continue to challenge city officials to consider the necessity in changing policy. Tonight, we have 5 individuals testifying about experiences that they have had with MNPD. We have asked them to spend no more than 15, 20 minutes apiece to make sure that everyone has an equal amount of time to share. We hope that you will listen to them, hear their story, and listen again. Look for what in their story is a violation of basic human rights and what is it they heard, saw, felt, and understood was happening to them. How were they treated? And how did they respond? And ask yourself, why these practices? Why these practices and not some others? Before I take my seat, I would like to thank the Truth and Reconciliation Project for, at the end, this project is concerned about reconciliation. As Timothy Tyson reminds us, if there is to be reconciliation, first there must be truth. We are also concerned and want to remind you of the words of the prophet Micah. In the book of Micah 6:8, God corrects God's people not by demanding they offer sacrifice, but by demanding justice. Micah recalls to the people, God has shown you, O people, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. As we prepare to hear our first respondents, listen for what shall be required of us to make things right with God and humanity. So let us thank them for being here, and we are ready to begin to listen to their stories. And they will be introduced. I'll give you the mic. You can share your name and begin to share your story. Thank you. Let's give them a hand for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Harris. Good evening. I'm A.K. Thomas. I'm also a writer, a poet, a historian, and an activist known as Chaos. I'm 70 years old and have been a resident of Nashville for more than 50 years. I grew up and went to school here. I played football for several institutions here. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I participated in the civil rights sit-ins in the 60s. And I rode motorcycles here for more than 40 years. I never thought I'd hear myself say this, but at my age, my greatest fear is a traffic stop. I've heard of, seen, and known them to result in people being injured, jailed, and even killed. In the past few years, I've had more than a few encounters with Metro Nashville Police Department. A while back, I stopped at Bud's Market on Buchanan Street and bought some ice cream in a small container. Upon leaving the store, I met some friends and invited them to sit and talk while I ate my ice cream. An officer came and demanded that we move on. After a few minutes, he returned and asked if I intended to leave at all. I informed him that I was eating ice cream, parked in a designated area for customers of that store, and was breaking no law. He then demanded that the friends exit my car and present him some ID. I stopped her. He was insinuating that she was a prostitute. I told him I had known her for her whole life. I knew her grandparents, her parents, her brothers and sisters, and her children. He then asked me what I was doing out there at that hour of the night, 11 p.m. I asked him if there was a curfew on senior citizens. The irony is that a few months later, this young lady was found murdered. Her body was cast out in an overgrown yard of an abandoned house. She was 7 months pregnant. To date, her murder has never been solved. Thank you. My name's Chaos.
How y'all doing? My name's Terrence Bush. Took the liberty of preparing a little something for y'all. I'm an African-American male. I currently reside in East Nashville. I've lived in all parts of Nashville my entire life. I've had various encounters with Metro Police since obtaining the driver's license at the age of 16. Some encounters were decent. Unfortunately, majority of them were not. I've experienced things such as illegal searches, the use of racial slurs and other derogatory language, even excessive force to the point of physical injury. I've been left with a bloody nose and a bruised sternum, just to give you an idea. One particular instance, the girl I was dating for about a month and a half offered to pick me up from work one night. She arrived to pick me up and proceeded to tell me she had a long day and this, that, and the third, and she asked me did I feel like driving. So being the gentleman and having the driver's license, I opted to drive. As soon as I pull out of the parking lot from my job, I get pulled over. I asked the officer why did he stop me, because I didn't violate any traffic laws. He replied, I decided to run your tags. I said, so what was the reason you were running my tags? And he replied, that's just what we do. So the car belonged to a friend of hers, and it didn't contain any of the necessary paperwork to provide to the officer at that time. So he proceeded to write me a ticket. 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from the girl's mother saying that she had been arrested for aggravated burglary. Needless to say, that month and a half relationship came to an end. So, but I still had to go to court for the ticket. So I'm sitting in the courtroom, and another defendant is arguing about the way he was treated by the police, and it puts the judge in a really bad mood. Unfortunately, everyone who stood before the judge after him, they didn't get no mercy. Once my name was called, I stood before the judge and I explained to him the situation. I gave him the girl's name, explained to him that she was incarcerated, and the car that I received the ticket in was in the impound. It was part of the whole investigation and whatnot, so I couldn't give him a registration and all of that for the car. And he told me, so what, you were driving, and that was it. Unfortunately, with my child support situation and my rent and things like that, I couldn't afford to pay the ticket. So eventually my license ended up being suspended. And they've been suspended since then. This is like 2006. Let's see. Being pulled over numerous times by the police, it has made matters worse since then. financially, mentally, emotionally, for myself, my children, and my family. I've had to spend several weekends incarcerated away from my children doing the 48-hour deal. I've done a week at a time here and there. I lost 2 jobs due to that. You know, you name it. But the thing is, I got a lot of things, and some of my things are like, when you look at the demographics in a lot of these cities around the country that are predominantly white, you know, how is it possible that majority of your traffic stops and frivolous charges involve minorities? You know, you can't really just kind of turn a blind eye to that. And another thing that I feel like is, you know, we need to look at the Constitution. We really need to look at the 13th Amendment. It was a good doc on that. And it states that slavery is abolished except for in the punishment for a crime. And then you look at the mass incarceration statistics in the black community since that time till now. Now, you know, this is supposedly, you know, the land of the free and whatnot, but currently we house 1/4 of the world's prisoners, you know, are held right here in this country. I read a sentencing commission statistic that was released in like 2013, and it said even with charged with the same crime, black people receive a 20% higher sentencing than white people. How can you ignore that? You know, how can you not look at that and be like, hey, that's wrong? You know, we need to take a look at, you know, the way we're being policed. You know, as long as, I feel like this, as long as police are able to run your tags without reason or probable cause, then you have that gateway open to be racially profiled. Or, you know, I think that conflicting loophole is really landing a lot of people in debt unnecessarily, left without a license, and more horrific circumstances, left without a life. So,
Hey, how y'all doing today? All right. So I'm Calvin McGee, a 33-year-old black male from currently residing in North Nashville, but a lot of my encounters with the police department happen in East Nashville. So, I mean, like the brother Terrence said, I've been stopped multiple times by the police, just different reasons. I've been told, I thought you had a brake light out before. And then, well, I realize now your brake light's not out, but let me see your license and registration. But one particular time, I had left the gym. I was on my way home, East Nashville, like Lytton Avenue, Scott Avenue area. And I was pulled over. Same reason, like Brother Terrence said. They said they ran my tags, and I had some stuff on my record, so they had to see what was going on. And they also told me they was looking for drugs and guns, which I hear that a lot. They're always looking for drugs and guns. So he asked me license, registration, insurance. I had all that. He goes back to the car. He comes back. He's like, hey, can I search the car? And I'm like, nah, you can't search the car. I'm just trying to get home. So he keeps talking to me, asking me, you know, where am I going? What am I doing out? And long story short, he asked me again, could he search the car? And I'm like, nah, you still can't search the car. I'm just write my ticket, let me go home. So he said, well, wait 20 minutes till we call the dog out. And this is where the illegal search part of the stop starts to happen, because he tells me to stand out the car while the dog goes around the car. And if the dog, you know, if the dog sniffs or hits on the car, then he's going to search it. So I know it's nothing in the car. I step out the car, stand in the back. They take the dog around, and right when they get to a little angle where I can't see, the dog's not visible, all of a sudden the dog starts going off, scratching on my car, trying to, I don't know, scratching on my window and everything. And he was like, well, the dog smells something, so we're going to search the car. We already know nothing was in the car, so they searched the car, tear it up, pull my back seats out, like rip my glove compartment and all type of crazy stuff, just to find out nothing was in there. And like that encounter will just be forgotten, because I didn't get a ticket. There's no paperwork on that encounter. It's just nothing. It's like, okay, we tow your car up, we didn't find anything, now you can go home. And just little stuff like that happens a lot, and it happens far too often. I mean, I've actually had the dog circle my car at 3 encounters. And all 3 of them is no ticket, nothing. You go home, have a nice day. And that's a big problem, man, because what that did for me, that it instilled a mistrust. So that people always talk about the disconnect between the black community and the police, and stuff like this is why. This is why that the mistrust is there. So, I mean, I don't know. It's weird because it's normal to brothers like us. Like, this is normal. Being pulled over is normal, but to a lot of people, that's not normal. Getting your car searched and getting pulled over and stuff like that. So, what we have to do is just find a way to where we can change the way that our communities are policed, man. Because until we do that, it's going to be the same. It's been the same for hundreds and hundreds of years, and it's really getting worse. So, I don't know. That's why I'm here discussing this with you guys. Hopefully, we can come to some kind of understanding and get some solutions here. And I really appreciate y'all for listening to me.
Hey, what's up, family? I am Mansa Rashidi. I, of course, am a black man. I am from North Nashville. And I guess my experience, I haven't really gotten physically harassed. I've more got, like, mentally harassed. You know what I mean? It's not like they don't grab me by the balls and push me around. They don't do all that. I don't really, you know, I try to talk in a way that's almost not natural, but that they would maybe sense this guy might be somebody, or this guy might, if I harass him, maybe I could get in trouble for this. Because, you know, they prey on the weak. So I try to appear as strong as I can. What if I had a bad day? What if I don't want to do that? What if I'm, you know what I mean, not feeling strong? I have to do it anyway. I think now terrorism is described as the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians in the pursuit of political aims. Now, like, if y'all can remember 9/11, it wasn't too long ago, like, how afraid of planes were we? Y'all remember, like, right after it happened, like, I didn't want to catch a plane. Like, I run to California, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to, like, catch no plane. They talking about bombing folk, like, no way, I'm not doing that. That was just, like, what, 10, 15 years ago? Like, we didn't even want to open mail. They said they were, like, getting us with anthrax. Like, I didn't go to the mailbox for, like, 2 years. I'm like, screw it, it's probably bill collected anyway. But I say, like, that was just 15 years ago. And, you know, sometimes on a plane still, just because of the propaganda, I might see, like, I'm still kind of shook a little bit, and I just kind of shake it off. But imagine 400 years of that trauma, though. Like, since the police's inception, they were slave catchers. They didn't start off as, let's bad guys versus the good. They didn't want bad guys. They wanted black slaves to round up, bring back to the masters to do more free work and to be beaten, legally raped, all of this. This was the inception. This is the foundation of the police department. So you have to think about real terrorism of a black man and a black woman who has a black man. Like, imagine, like, sending your son out there. Just a handsome young black dude, but they don't even see him like that. Imagine, like, how the women must even feel sending their son out here. Like, I don't have kids right now. I don't necessarily even want to have kids, not because I don't want to raise a family. I don't even want the stress that my mom has to deal with. How crazy, I can't, you know what I mean? So that's just the terror part of it. They've never asked to help me in my life. Never. I've never been walking and they say, hey, bro, like, you need anything? Like, you know where to go? Like, is everything all right with you? How's your family? Never. 27 years old. Never been asked to help across the street. Could I help you with this? It's more of a, what are you doing around here? Like, where you going? Who are you? Let me see your ID. I pay you, fam. The fire department doesn't kill me. I pay their salary. They don't kill me, though. Teachers, we pay their salary. They don't kill us. I don't, you know what I mean? So it's weird that people working for you talk to, like, if you paid an assistant to do some work for you and they come in to work late, snapping on you, smacking you in the face, like, how long are they going to be your assistant? Like, that's not a good worker. They don't work for us. So that's just another interesting fact I thought about. I was thinking I never was helped by a cop in my life. Like, most people think you're going up, ooh, a policeman's going to help me one day. No. Have you ever got pulled over and thought, okay, good, okay, whew, the cops are here. You know what I mean? Like, okay, good, we got the cops, whew, everything's good. No, it's like, oh my God, like, I don't even have nothing on me. I got to make sure I don't, like, I ain't smoked in 2 years. I got to make sure I ain't got no weed in the car from 2 years ago. You know what I mean? I'm shook. I think that's pretty terrible. Now, another quick fact. Now, imagine, because a lot of times you'll say, well, it's a lot of crime, right? And it seems like that's the case, right? There's a lot of stats on black crime, on black crime, all that bull. But imagine when Hitler was in his reign, if 70% of the prisons were Jewish people. Like, would you trust those facts about the crime? Like, Hitler's rising to power, trying to commit a genocide. Can we really trust the facts on Jewish crime? Or are they just trying to make it justifiable to why they're getting all these Jews in this camp, to kill them all? Another interesting fact. Now, like they said, I heard them talking, and it made me write a note about once you do get pulled over, and you do have something on you, or you don't, you get pulled over and taken it anyway because of your past. What they do is, because at the end of the day, it's a business. America's a business. You have to fill a quota. They have to fill a quota. So you can almost not blame, like if we're in Iraq, you can't blame the soldier for shooting you. You got to blame the dude who sent him over there. You know what I mean? So we can take it personal, like it's a cop he's told that. You know what I mean? He's not a millionaire. Like, people are telling him to do this. You get in there and they'll tell you, you get a dime sack of weed or a little coke, and they'll tell you, hey man, you take this right here, you just go ahead and take this bit. You say you did it, and you'll just do a year in here, or get 10 years probation, and you'll be good. Because if you don't take it, we're going to hit you with 30. And you're like, fam, like he said, I got kids. And you thinking, I don't have no money to pay for no lawyer to fight this? And this is the government. This is $1 billion Tennessean government. You know what I mean? So, like, a lot of people just say, screw it. I just say I did it. I just say I did it. I don't even want to imagine leaving my kids for 30 years. I just take 2 even though I didn't do it. And I would say 60%, wouldn't y'all say 60% of people in jail just for stuff they didn't do? At least. I've heard lawyers tell me a lot more. So that's that. And then solutions. Those are the problems. For me, I would think, I don't know, but as a 27-year-old black man, I can say I don't think there are any good cops. I know that seems pretty extreme. Like, wow, bro, how could you put everybody in a box? If there are good cops, and he's like, what about black cops? Black, white, Latino, I've never seen a cop come out against police brutality in my life. Never seen that. Where the good cops at? Like, this man couldn't shoot this kid right here, and just because he's black, I say, fam, that was real. I'm not going to speak. That's terrible. How are you doing that? I can't sit up here with this man and he's shooting kids. Mm-hmm. They're not doing that. So if I let him shoot that kid and I say nothing, I'm not good. That's not okay. There are no good cops. So I say we as black folks have to, Martin was talking about this, Malcolm was talking about this, Marcus Garvey, like this is, how long are we going to be asking them for justice in reality? I'm not asking them for nothing else. Okay. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes. If you can wrap it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd love to.
Love you too.
No, I said I'd love to.
You don't love me too? Come on. All right.
But yeah, in conclusion, I just, I feel like we have to do for self. Some quick solutions off the top of my head. Maybe we could put our own cameras out in our neighborhoods, police our own neighborhoods. And we have to look for self. We have to do it for self. We can't trust liberals, Republicans. We need to do it for self. Everybody else did it for self. Every revolution started with self-help. No one's going to help us. We got to chew that reality and stop begging because they don't care. So.
Yeah. Thank you. I just didn't want to.
No problem. Yeah. No problem.
Okay, good. Well, let me. Are there any other persons to speak? I thought we had 5. I see 4. Is there another person to come? Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Okay.
Come. Could he have your seat there and share?
How y'all doing?
Okay.
I was asked by Jacola.
What's your name first, if you don't mind?
First, my name is John Kelly. I was a former resident of James A. Casey. I was asked by Dakota Lane to come here and just maybe share my experience that I've had in Casey with the police. One of my more vivid moments that I remember is being 18 years old, and I lived on Dew Street. That's a street off in James Casey. I was at the bottom of the hill, which is Sylvian Street, another street in James Casey. I was stopped by the police. He asked my name, asked me to have some ID. Went to the back of his car, pulled out the list of the tenants. He found my name on the list, came back, gave my ID, but then he gave me a message and told me that even though I live in James Casey and I'm on the lease, I'm on Sylvian Street, I'm trespassing in my own neighborhood. So, you know, that kind of rubbed me kind of funny, because I'm like, how can I trespass in my neighborhood? And, you know, they would come through on horses, come through in packs. They'll come through and I always give you the whole rundown why they're doing this. But what they said it was doing didn't match. I was arrested for police brutality when I was young, 17, 18. The officer was talking to me, and he walked past me and bumped my shoulder. Then he grabbed me and arrested me. I did, only had to do like 8 hours, something like a so-called learning process. But that's how easy it is for them just to take us off the street and control us. You know, for a while I was scared. I was scared of the police. My nephew right now is 5 years old. He's scared of the police. He see him, he run. He said, "Mama, they go to the police," and he ain't did nothing but be a kid. So I think, like he said, with the cameras, I think that's a good idea. We have our own. We can monitor our own, kind of police our own neighborhood, kind of police the police, because they, at this point, they can do whatever they want to do, say whatever they want to say. If they mess with me, I can't call the police. I can't call the police on the police. So what do? I have to police myself, police my people. So, you know, my thing is trying to give back, trying to help us, our people of race, and our colors within all colors. Like I said, black, Latino, you know, we're all melanin filled. We're all brothers and sisters one way or another. But the police brutality is saddening. It's real saddening. You know, it's like now we're just here, and they're waiting for us to just give up. But I don't want us to give up. So that was my mission. You know, I label myself as the inner city mayor to try to help my black people. You know, it's gonna get done. I mean, it's been 7 years. It's been hard, but there's no sense of giving up now. Right. You know, so that was my testimony to you all. And maybe we can come together and come up with a way to fix this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me just say thanks to each of you for your stories. The purpose of this Truth and Reconciliation public hearing is to hear stories of experiences with policing in Nashville. And as I listened, I saw and felt the emotional pain and trauma in some sense of what you've experienced across many, many years. And for the purpose of these hearings and the audience that's here, if one of you or if any of you could speak to this emotional pain that is, in my sense, present in your stories, it would give us a sense of what this kind of policing and these practices have meant to you in your own sense of the challenge, the trauma. There's that mic right there.
One of the things that is most prevalent in my mind behind the experiences that I've had with Nashville Police Department is I once heard a quote from Maya Angelou that said, "You may forget what was done or what was said, but you might not ever forget what was done or what said, how it made you feel." After some of the experiences that I've had with Nashville Police Department, I feel like they don't consider me to be a human being. They don't consider me to have any kind of rights, feelings, emotions. They don't care about our children, our family. I mean, how do you murder a man in his car with his girlfriend and a child in the back? After murdering that man, how do you take his girlfriend out of the car and hear her baby crying for her, trying to console her? Don't worry, Mama, I'm here. This is a child. What kind of human being subjects another human being to these kinds of feelings and emotions? What's on their mind? I've had things happen to me that I walk away second guessing. I've not always been a spiritual being, but in my advancing years, I've become more leaning on my spirituality. I lean more for understanding toward my Maker. But for the life of me, I cannot forget the evilness that's been practiced by some of these people. And I know it affects us all. And like the guy said, where are the good police? How can you be a good police when you witness your friends and your cohorts doing such things and you don't speak up or you don't make a move to stop it? I don't understand. Perhaps I'm just old and becoming feeble-minded, but I don't understand.
Thank you so much.
A few ways that it makes me feel, man. It makes you feel, you know, like you're not valued, like as a person, man. I mean, it's bad. I mean, they it's like you're guilty automatically. You know, you don't. You know, they ask you the questions. You don't ask them the questions. You know, you say, "Why you pull me over?" Where your license and registration at? Why you pull me over? Where your license and registration at? You know, you don't. So it makes you feel less of a human. You know, it makes you feel like you don't have no place out here. You know, it's like you can't even. You know, you're scared to go pick your kids up or go to work, or you got to take the long way home. You know, so it's gonna cost you financially because you know. All on the back skirts, trying to just stay out the way, you know. And it's bad, man. It's words can't describe how it makes me feel, man. I mean, you know, like you said, when he mentioned how the kids look at it, you know, kids are like, when they see the police, it's like they go to police like it's a bad thing, you know. And, you know, it's bad that seed or that mentality is just getting passed down, you know, generation to generation to where, you know, we fear the police. You know, we don't want to get, you know, pulled over and things like that. So, I mean, in a nutshell, man, I mean, it's just an undescribable feeling, really. I mean, you just have to be in it to know it, you know.
Yes. Thank you.
So as I spoke on the lack of trust earlier, and that's just the way I feel. It makes me feel like I don't trust them. I feel like they don't trust me, and it's a disconnect. I also feel the lack of trust makes people fearful. So then I'm fearful when I send my son to the store. You know what I mean? Like the police live by a motto that says, "Make it home at night," right? I live by that same motto when I send my son. My son has to walk to the bus stop and walk home. I'm living by the same motto. Son, make it home tonight. Make it home today. And it just shouldn't be like that, man. Kind of like my man right here said. We've been begging and begging for years and years and years, and nothing is changing, man. So us as a people, we got to come together and do it ourselves, man. I mean, the spirit and the energy of these brothers in here is real, man. I mean, salute to the elders. They did the groundwork, but it's time for the younger ones to step up, and we need to be linking up with each other and really figuring out what we're going to do, man. Or we're just going to keep watching brothers die on Facebook. And that's just it, man. I don't know. It's disheartening, and it has me confused. I sit up at nights like, man, what can I do? Personally, what can I do to change this situation? But then I think, okay, what did my elders do to change the situation? So, I don't know, man. We just got to all link up and sit down and figure out what to do, because begging for help is not working for us. It's like we're getting laughed at, y'all.
when it comes to the emotion, I think the sad part is I've a few of my friends as well. I'm sure maybe some of these brothers. I've sadly become numb. When I see something happen, I worry about my cousin or my mom or my aunt seeing it. I'm like, man, I hope they don't see that. Like, I don't want them to see that. I don't even know if I ever even digest it seriously, and which makes me like, it's like I'm almost like a war. If you're in a war for so long, you see so many dead bodies, another guy dead, it's like, man, that sucks. But after a while, you become kind of numb to it. And then another emotion I would kind of equate to how I feel is, like, again, if 9/11 happened and those planes hit and we knew a foreign person that came into our country and bombed us and we did nothing. We didn't go to Iraq. We didn't kill bin Laden. We just got bombed hard. People died innocent. We knew that, and then nothing happened. So now you're just walking around with that, with no justice, just knowing it can happen again. It's just terrorism with no justice. It's just,
terrorism. Thank you. That question begs for us to think about, and maybe these public hearings can be useful in trying to identify what does a just system of policing look like in Nashville. What are the kinds of things that can humanize policing? I think I heard descriptions of a dehumanizing process when you encounter police in a simple stop. What are the kinds of things do you see making policing and its practices more humanizing, more respecting the dignity of the person, and if ultimately safety, not only the safety of you and the safety of the city is the ultimate goal, what are some of the things that you think can humanize, make this system of policing better, and what it should look like in terms of the experiences you've had in your community?
What that would look like to me would be first to recognize that there is a problem in policing. When you continue to deny that you have such practices as racial profiling, when you continue to defend officers who have been reprimanded 10 or 12 times in the past 5 years and they still out there on the street committing the same kinds of things that they were chastised for, and you are defending them, when you don't listen to the people who you're supposed to be in service to, when they say, hey, you're leaning on me, hey, you're harassing me, and you say, oh, no, that doesn't exist. No, if it happened in my department, I would. But you refuse to come to the table and answer the allegations that have been made toward your department. When you make campaign promises that you will spend money on this and that, and then you get elected to office and you totally ignore those things that you mentioned in your campaign promises, these are things that need to be corrected. We have a report here called Driving While Black. We have people who have testified to their encounters with the police, but the police department refuses to answer any of that. We have pushed for more accountability. We've pushed to be more open with the public. But you still have people who say, oh, we'll meet with you, but we'll meet in the back room where there's no filming and recording, and then we'll get you back there and intimidate you that if you don't stop accusing us, we'll come down on you. These things have to stop. This is what has to be done in order to humanize the police department to the communities. When I grew up in Nashville, we knew the policemen in our neighborhood. They knew our parents. They called us by name. When they saw us out there throwing rocks and creating mischief, they chastised us, called our parents. We'd rather be caught by them than for them to report back to our parents. We don't have any of that nowadays. We don't even know who the police are in our neighborhood.
So the relationship, the quality of the relationship between policing and the community and persons is of such that the basic elements of trust, the basic elements of caring, the basic elements of providing safety, whatever it is that police are supposed to be, that is absent in the way in which you perceive the current system.
Right.
That there's no caring, really trust that can be built upon because they have not recognized the problem.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, you know, countrywide, man, the police department needs like a real integrity check, like a real character check, you know, even just based off the history of the police department as far as how it was, you know, originated and things like that. And one of the biggest things that I feel like where the loophole is you can run people tags. And it's like, why should you, if I'm driving down the street, I'm not committing any traffic laws or any violating any traffic laws, why are you running my tags for? You know, why? You know, if I don't say, well, you know, and they pull over repeat offenders, and they never get a ticket for whatever they say they pulled them over for. They just gonna get a citation, and they're gonna go book themselves, and you know, right back in the system. So I just feel like that tactic right there in itself, you know, you can't just run somebody's tags and pull them over. I feel like if that was taken away, then.
So to embellish or to explain further what you're saying about running tags, I think in your earlier testimony, you had your tags run a simple stop and you were asking why. And you don't understand that practice by the police,
Right.
that when you stop, your tags get automatically run in terms of this. So if there's an explanation from the police, is at a regular traffic stop, if that is the protocol for a police officer to run the tags of a car, even though they may not have any suspicion at that point, that running the tags of a car from the police perspective needs to be an explanation, or at least to be
Right, my car
clear.
needs to be on the stolen list, or you need to have some kind of something of why are you checking on this?
So
car?
the police practice of running tags needs more explanation from the policing practices that will alert us who may get stopped why that's happening, so that that one practice does not escalate into more exchanges that do not make sense to you.
As long as they have that loophole right there where they can just do that freely, then I think it's always going to be a problem.
Okay, that
But
practice.
it was explained to me that the reason why they can do it from an officer in the past is because we drive on state roads or something like that. That's
Okay.
how it was explained to me. But
Okay. We'll make a note of that practice and what that means, because in many instances, education based both on the part of the police and education based on what we know in terms of practices may alarm us and cause confusion right at that simple stop, because it takes time to run the tags. It takes time for them to come and get the information after they run it. And then at that point, in between that gap, a lot of nervousness is created.
right,
Yeah,
all that's going on.
and you're wandering in.
You turn where you turn in, and
Yeah, you don't know what's going on. Okay, good.
I mean, so pretty much like that brother said, it just has to be a whole. It just has to be scratched and start all over. We got to start from scratch, man. I just read an article that in the Metro Police Department training books, it mentioned something about minorities being very dangerous or something like that. And now they're about to take that out of the training book. So how long was that in the training book? You see what I'm saying? So it's propaganda like that that's not gonna let us move forward, man. And that propaganda comes from the top down. And until we get rid of practices like this brother is saying, and propaganda like that, then man, we got a long fight ahead of us, brother.
So that particular practice and manual that they've used to describe to police officers the context in which they will be doing policing and the descriptors of people they need to get another training manual
There you go.
and start all from scratch.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you.
Um, uh, the current drug epidemic is methamphetamine, and there's no war on drugs going on right now, which makes me think they don't want to, because one, we don't do meth, and a war on meth would mean a war on, you know, the people who do it, majority white people, you know, in rural areas doing the methamphetamine. And I feel like they're not doing that for a reason, which makes me think, maybe you can call me paranoid or maybe you can call me wise. I think they are trying to take us out, so I don't know if I have anything to say to them at all. I feel like they're a complete enemy who is trying to kill me. I feel like we have to take care of each other, and that's really the only way. So I don't know what to tell them other than, you know, I'm not going to let you kill this man. So
Okay.
that's it. Unfairly, unjustly. You're not going to kill him. You're not going to kill my son. You're not going to kill me. Easy. So.
Thank you. Number 5. Yeah. You want to respond to that? Thank you.
I think what he's saying about the unjust of the police stopping us, you know, they have a term where they say they just doing a routine stop, but it's routinely on black men in urban housing, urban neighborhoods. A lot of times, I think, how can we fight against what they're doing? I think about the old Black Wall Street, where we had our own businesses. We may not be official police officers, but like you said earlier, with our police in our own neighborhoods, they may be security, but they're our security, and they're securing us from them to a certain extent. Our own body cameras, our own cameras just hanging off the walls of how they do us now, because now as you go through the projects, there's cameras everywhere, and there's not a TV show going on unless our lives is their entertainment. I really don't have a true way to stop the epidemic of police brutality. I mean, I could even go say, hey, maybe we need more black police, but they're following the same rules, and like you said, they're keeping a closed mouth, so they wouldn't help anyway. We gotta figure out a way to watch them where they won't say that we're interfering with police business, because that happens a lot. I had a friend of mine stopped, and I knew him, so you know, I'm like calling his uncle to tell him, hey, they got your nephew. The police tell me if I don't get off my phone, I'm going to jail for interfering in police business. So they lead me to believe, how can I really voice what's going on without a camera and a YouTube account or a Facebook account to do it that way? Because when I go and talk to maybe a Megan Berry, and she has somebody write a script for her that sounds good, but it's not from her, it's from them, so that don't count. We can't go to the police chief because he's so busy, and like you said, it's always a backroom effect where there's no cameras, no video, no sound recordings or nothing, and then I really don't know what we can do, but to keep on fighting, keep on trying to expose what's going on, because after so long, which has been a long time to be honest, they they've recognized what's going on, but they don't want to look like the GOAT in the situation. And I'm not speaking greatest of all time. I think we got to figure out a way to be able to police the police. That's the only way. I don't know if it counts for maybe the military or somebody, but something has to be done. I mean, look at Chicago. If there's any more Chicago left, you know, it's steps and steps they're taking towards, you know, the New World Order, the martial law, and it's going to make it even rough on us.
Yeah.
It's going to be really rough.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What we've heard in these testimonies, different levels of impact, both from physical and emotional, but as well as economic, in terms of being able to sustain families and work and to keep the whole family from being impacted by a traffic stop or police routine stop that results in sometimes jail or incarceration that takes you away from your families. Would you be willing to entertain other questions beyond your testimony right now to the audience that is here so that maybe we have a few questions from the audience. We thank you already for your courage, and let's just applaud them for their courage tonight, for articulating. And what we had hoped for these hearings is it's about 2 hours from 6 to 8, and we have a little time. But what we want from our experience is to walk away with more information about people who've experienced negative policing experiences here in Nashville, what that looks like. And we've got some of what that looks like from your experience and your perspective, what it looks like, how it affects deeply your own sense of living as a citizen here in Nashville. But also, we want to see if we can listen deep enough to figure out what would policing look like if those things could be addressed. These things like trust, things like recognizing that I'm a human being, these things go to the depth of cultural education and requiring police practices and training to really get in touch with the culture and humanities of the people here in Nashville. So that's a long educational process. So let's, if you will, if there are questions from the audience that you might want to ask.
Hi, I'm Bretton Phillips. I write poetry, and I have like 4 or 5 questions, but I'll just go along with them. If you want me to stop at any point, let me know. The first one, I'll just start with the hardest hitting one I can think of, is when was the last time there was a minority nonviolent protest on a white college campus? Say, for instance, like if TSU students or Meharry students came over to Vanderbilt and peacefully protested about an issue. The reason I bring that up is when I think of what people try to protect is their family, and the parents aren't here on campus, you know, and it's like, you know, you're trying to protect your family. If you protest or if you do violence in your neighborhood, you're just reiterating that. I mean, I know you said you're looking for cameras and stuff, but you can just turn on a cell phone the second they start getting to you. And so the question is, I guess I'll revamp it. No, I'll stick with it. When was the last time you felt like you stood up for doing a peaceful protest somewhere where you were speaking your mind more than just in a room of educated citizens?
Let me...
If you can paraphrase that, that'll be great.
Well, I'm trying to, I think I understand the question. I'm sure they may too, but I'm trying to get the connectivity of your question to the issue that we are discussing.
I can tie it back because I guess I would say if we want to tie it back to police, I mean, my mind goes to another alternative. How do you think this issue will arise over the next 10 to 20 years as we move into automation of automobile driving? Like right now you have, I know it may sound far-fetched to a lot of people, but it's not. There's automobiles that are currently driving people without passengers, and those not in Tennessee, Pennsylvania, Arizona, and California. And if I was to jump one more step, I would say I was an Uber driver, and I did about 270 drives. Do you know how many African Americans I gave a ride to? It was like less than 20 in all of Nashville. So the white folks were giving their drivers around, and they just don't get tickets that way.
Yeah. For the sake of clarity and the sake of giving a fair possibility for response, I think your question is too general and then non-specific enough to talk about their experience and what it means in terms of policing here in Nashville. So unless you have another question, I'll go to the next question then. Well, yeah, I get you. I feel your tension of your question. However, it's a larger discussion, general discussion, philosophical even, about what it is that these kinds of things mean for transformation and change. What I would like the audience's questions to address is what is it about policing here in Nashville based on their experiences that they could give further explanation to and help us understand how we might come out of these public hearings with a better understanding of policing protocols and practices. So I appreciate your question and your interest, but that's too general and too large of a philosophical approach of the problem than a practical solution to what we're talking about. So is that another question? Yes.
So there was just a survey, the results of a survey done here at Vanderbilt that came out in the last day or two, and I'm wondering how those survey results suggest that most people in Nashville are relatively pleased with the job that the police are doing here. Mm-hmm. That's not what we're hearing reflected back today. And I'm wondering how, in light of the stories that you're telling, we address that fact. I'm not sure we have much hope of change. Well, 80% of folks are satisfied.
So to deal with that, you have to ask, who were the pollsters? You know what I mean? Who were they polling? Who were they asking these questions to? It wasn't brothers from Casey Holmes. I can pretty much promise you that, or Andrew Jackson. You know what I mean? So that stuff. When I hear stuff like that, man, that lets me know that I wasn't involved in that poll. I don't think this brother, that brother. We don't know. We don't know what these polls are coming from. It's the thing like he spoke on the black on black crime. Who's coming up with these numbers? So it's all about propaganda. But I don't know. I don't know what we can do about that. If majority of the people saying is doing a good job, then y'all know what that means. It's going to be business as usual. It's still stop and frisk, still run this man tag, still shoot you if I feel afraid. It's going to be business as usual. So when you tell me that number, that's what I hear. I hear business as usual.
Nashville right now is like the 19th fastest growing city in the country. Right now we're at like 700,000 people. Black people, we make up around 200,000 last I checked. It's like 180,000 or something. So like he said, yeah, who are they polling? You know, who are they polling? We don't make up, you know, that big of a piece of the pie. So why are we being policed in such a way that we're making up a bigger portion of the people who don't have driver's license and don't have jobs and don't have, you know, experience in all these other economic hardships? You know, it's like, you know, people lie all day, but, you know, numbers don't.
Yeah. The other side of that is, with Nashville growing the way it is, with gentrification, a whole lot of people that I grew up with and people that I know to be Nashvillians are now no longer. They're being pushed out, we've been priced out. I mean, I know a young lady that's been looking for a house for 6 months. I mean, she's got vouchers, she's got sponsors, she's got employment, but there's no housing available for her because they're now saying that affordable housing is 1 bedroom, $900 a month. She can't afford that. So where we got to go? We got to go outside of Davidson County, which means that she can no longer get back and forth to work. You know, you've got self-help organizations around town like the commission that helps people with their utility bills. But when you go down there, they've got all these rules and regulations. You know, I carried a young lady the other day down there, and they asked her for a record, a year's record of her billing history. She don't know what this is, which means now she's hitching a ride from me, so now she's got to go back to some other organization, hitch another ride back over there, only to have them present her with another. So, we're like the guy said, we're a small piece of the pie, but you got all these numbers coming in. You got all these people coming in from other places, and that's who they're addressing. They're ignoring the people who live here and the people who are being impacted by these laws and rules and regulations. So, you know,
Yeah.
your questions don't apply to me. I don't have an answer.
The statistical data in Gideon's report, Driving While Black, would show that these numbers and the percentages are contextualized and need to be contextualized based upon demographics that will show a different picture. And that picture is what I think they are responding to in terms of policing in Nashville and the experience in neighborhoods that they live in and in neighborhoods around Nashville. So I think the response to that question is, as he said, the posters and what was the real aim at that particular survey that gave that 80% of people in Nashville feel that policing is doing a good job. Obviously, in neighborhoods where there are poor people and poverty and issues of class, it's not doing as well. Yes.
My name's Dawn. I'm the public defender here in Nashville. And I heard at least one account today of concerns about I can't hire a lawyer, and so I'm not going to get justice in this system. And that's an experience that we all too often hear from our clients. We hear them tell us, do I need to hire a lawyer? And we hear their stories of not having faith in our ability to get justice for them in this system. And so I guess one question that I have for the five of you who offered your testimony tonight is, that's what we want to do. We want to be able to fight with you. We want to fight with you. But we also recognize ourselves really as part of the system that you see as, and that you feel as oppressing you. And so my question is, what, if anything, can we do? What can you tell us about how we can do? Is there anything that we can do to be, and for you to feel that we are fighting with you?
Mm-hmm. In your response to that question, let that be a closing kind of statement as well, because it's the kind of question that they can summarize in terms of a closing statement to what has been said tonight. Thank you for the question.
I feel, as far as public defenders, a lot of times we feel like the public defender and the DA are cool. We feel like the public defenders are sometimes fearful of the DA, and they won't give their best shot, even though they make the DA look smarter than what he's doing. I think what you can do is give more consistent effort, if it makes sense. I was incarcerated. I sit there for 9.5 months. You know, I saw my lawyer 4 times in 9.5 months, public defender. I always said, you know, I'm real busy. I got a lot of cases. Maybe I can get with you in a couple of weeks, which would have been turned to like a month and a half, 90 days, somewhere through that gap. And I just sit there and sit there and sit there. And then I was, at one point, I didn't believe that they was even doing anything. I feel like when I finally went to court 9.5 months later, I basically served my time. But a lot of times they was telling me, oh, I'm on this, I'm calling such and such, I'm waiting on information to get back and such. And I'm sitting there not knowing what my livelihood gonna be. Am I ever going home? What's gonna happen? You know what I'm saying? I got locked up. My granddaughter was 3.5 months. I sit there and I said, she's not even gonna know who I am when I come home. You know, so I thought about stuff like that, and then I started trying to figure out how to work my own case without a law library, because it was minimal books, like minimal. You know, they say you can go there and you can study, and that's not true, it just sounds good. So when I'm trying to call my attorney, which is the DA, from a jail cell telephone, that stuff just don't work. So I'm like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So maybe y'all can figure out ways to come to the jail, make more effort to see the client, hear things, because sometimes we remember stuff that we forgot out of nervousness, you know. So it might take me a little bit long to reiterate on everything that happened. Like, oh, you know what, I forgot this, but now it's 3 months later. I probably don't forget it again, or, you know, I don't admit my detriment to the case that I'm in. So I think more effort in communicating with the, I guess we label it as offenders. You know, we get pulled over, we go to jail, and we sit there we just sit there, and it's sad. Like, we just sit there. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Quickly, I would just say, when you see something unfair, racist, oppressive, go to the media. Tell them. Get the message out so it's just not another angry black guy saying, look at the white man, you know. If you say, my clients are being oppressed, it's hard for me to get them out, they're building cases unfairly, they can't afford to get out, I believe it would be stronger coming from you, especially to white suburbia and to the system in general, you know, because I think it would be more threatening coming from someone inside the system saying something's wrong. So,
pretty much piggyback off what he said. When you see it, you just got to expose it. Just expose it. I mean, you pretty much got to be willing to lose your job for it. It's not going to be an easy task. Pretty much ready to lose your job, willing to die for it. That's it. I mean, black people's fight. If Caucasian people are going to help us, you got to be willing to stand all the way 100. You can't have 1 foot over here, 1 foot over here, because you know, like I know, they'll fire you, blackball you, and in some instances kill you. So you have to be willing to fight this fight. Or you're just going to go along with business as usual. Now, if you know that injustices is happening and you still sit back and let it happen, then you're guilty too, just like with the police. So it's time for y'all to just help us expose them. Expose them.
Yeah, I would just say, you know, get involved, basically. You know, like you said, you got to be willing to lose your job for it, you know. You know, because we losing our jobs for stuff, you know. It's hard out here. It's rough, you know. Like you said, if you see something, you know, say something. You know, if it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's right, it's right. You know, you just got to be willing to call it out, you know. And it's like, it's hard to do, being in a position like that, you know, like even like with the police, like, you know, they signed up for that, man, they better not go against their own, you know. It's just how it is, you know. So you got to be willing to go against your own, you know. But yeah, just get more involved is what I would say. You know, show up at meetings like this. You know, take that information back, share it. You know, pass it to the judge. You know, hey judge, you see this? You know, why don't you come down here? You know what I'm saying? Just, you know, just get involved, just to raise the awareness. You know, really.
It's ironic that you work with the Public Defender's Office, to whom I owe my first and only felony conviction at the advice of my public defender, Accountant R. Price Nemo, who is now a famous lawyer in Nashville, if he's still alive. But what can you do? Be truthful to your calling. Quit bowing down. My felony conviction came at the advice of accepting a plea bargain, because if you want to get out of jail today, just go on and plead guilty, and we're going to give you probation for the rest of your time. Or you can stay here and maybe be another year and a half before you go to trial on a crime you did not commit, because you don't have enough money to make bond, you can't afford a private attorney, and the system just isn't concerned about you. So if you represent the indigent, if you represent people who are not educated enough to the system, then you need to represent them. I mean, do a job for them. Don't just sell them out or talk them into plea bargaining, get a felony conviction on the record. Next thing you know, they're being shipped off to the penitentiary. Next thing you know, the family is trying to survive out there without them. Mother's trying to raise children without, you know, the breadwinner. You know, these are the things that you can do. You as a public defender, you as a part of the system. Punch them in the side. Hey, buddy, hey, that ain't right.
Thank you so much. Thank you again. Let's give our testifiers a big hand. our testifiers a big hand. We want to thank the, amen. We want to thank the Truth and Reconciliation Project here at Vanderbilt Divinity School and our partners, Gideon's Army, and other community support groups for helping us provide this forum, this space for these public hearings. This is the first of several public hearings that will take place. The next one will be April 22nd, 6 to 8 p.m. in this space, April 29th, 12 to 2 p.m. in this space, and May 16th, 6 to 8 p.m. in this space as well. And as we gather information and then bring them to some kind of report, we hope that reconciliation through policy changes and other things that can help make policing human in terms of its humanizing of what the way in which it treats all of its citizens can occur. But we're looking for your constant input, even beyond this hearing, to help us formulate that report. I want to thank Vanderbilt Divinity School and our Dean, Emily Towns, for providing this opportunity for the community to have this space, and then Amy Steele for your leadership as well, and the Truth and Reconciliation Project team, some of them are here. So thank you, and let's spread the word about these other hearings. There's a website for the Truth and Reconciliation Project. Go on that website, and there'll be more information about the next public hearings and also the notes from these hearings as we take them. Anything else that we need to share? Dean Towns, anything? Okay, thank you for coming, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the next public hearing.